afternoon. I'm Marie Chewe-Elliott, editor and one of the authors of an amazing new book that is by, for, and about women and how our shared wisdom can help us overcome and accomplish absolutely anything. That book is Kingdom Vision for Audacious Women, Lessons from Our Mothers and Others. Several of the authors are here on this call with us today, and we will hear from them. But first, let's meet our moderator and host, Rachel Sudduth, who will guide our discussion today. Right, wave at us, Rachel.
Hey.
We are so honored to have one of St. Louis's own in Rachel as our host and moderator for our book chat today. Rachel is a writer. She is an outstanding public relations specialist by day, and she is a lover of all things that involve art. She says she's been writing since she was 3 years old. I'd love to see some of that. And she loves journaling and using her blog called professionalvisionary.com as an outlet for her self-expression. Rachel is a broadcast journalism graduate from Howard University and has previously worked at KMOV and Meredith Corporation as a digital producer. Rachel enjoys helping others, discovering new social media platforms. Good, I'm sure we can use that help, Rachel. And traveling. Please welcome Rachel.
Hey, Princess.
Okay, I changed the name.
Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm so excited to meet every one of you. This book right here is it's so beautiful, and I just looked at it and just each different story and the lessons that you learn from that. Like it felt like we all grew up together when we kind of look at the book. But I just want to say thank you for inviting me. It has works from 20 writers and a very unique book cover. And I just want to introduce the ladies, and you tell us about the description of them and their titles, Marie.
Okay. I'll let them introduce themselves real quickly since I can actually see everyone. Let's start with and she did the ending to the book, but we'll make her at the beginning because, guys, truly, when I read the closing piece, which I think we ended up titling Pressing Toward Audacious Faith, I literally just threw the book down. I was done. I knew we were at the end, so please welcome Reverend Dr. Nina Thompson.
Yay! Well, thank you, but I just know how to take orders, Marie.
That's not true.
I knew I had to deliver. Real quickly, my name is Nina Thompson. I am a communications coordinator for MODOT, for the After 70 Project. I also have my own business, and I have a young adult ministry that I just absolutely love. And I'm just really excited about this book. It brought forth so many emotions, so many memories. So I'm just glad to be on the team. And that's all I will say about me.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Rose King, how about you? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hello. Shouldn't have I've grown up with Marie. 30 plus years. I'm happy to be here. I have a small business. Oh, so good by luxurious body treats. I'm a retired educator, retired business person. Traveling is my passion. Europe does not have enough room for me. I just keep going. I keep loving it and loving it and loving it. But when I read this book and I gave copies I had 3 daughters, copies to my daughter and told my husband, if he didn't read anything, he better read my article. But, you know what I mean? But they were surprised. And I looked at some of the stuff from these women. I thought, we are truly audacious women of God, because it was an excellent book. It so many different views. No one had the same thing. Everything was different. And
Right.
That's all I say.
All right. Thank you, Rose. Katina Holland.
Hello, everyone. I'm Katina Holland from Tupelo, Mississippi area, but now reside in Memphis, Tennessee. I'm the founder and CEO of Wear It Well nonprofit group, which was one of the inspirations of my piece that I wrote for the book. So I'm just excited about being a part of this and just blessed to be here today.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much. Shonda White.
Hello, all. Most of you I've met before. It's good to see you. And to those that I have not met, Hey, I love you. I feel the same way when I was reading through the book. I mean, it was so many different perspectives and they just touched me. Each one of them touched me in so many different ways, and it just helps you grow in so many different ways. So I am so excited to be here and be a part of this. And I'm just looking forward to many more things like this.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. Antoinette.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's good to be here. Ah, cutting across the field, Antoinette Tony Creighton, retired Southwestern Bell / AT&T. Started writing when I was in high school, and I am now a short story, poetry, word artist, along with finding my other voice from an artist standpoint, mixed media artist back in 2009. And Marie, thank you for inviting me, wanting me to be part of this vision. Again, phenomenal, phenomenal. The book itself, I found myself while reading the various pieces actually interacting. I was answering back, going like, "Uh-oh, she went there, she went there," and I just love it. I love it. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you, Tony. Melissa.
Hey there, I had to unmute myself. Hey there, I'm Elisa Lindsay. Uh, let's see, I'm in my third year of seminary school, and I help run a boutique with my sister, Graceful Scenes, and I am just riding the wave for my last years here. And I don't mean that like I'm dying, but I just mean that my last years are for me. So I'm focusing on me and what I've always wanted to do. And when I finally graduate from seminary school, you know how you hear people say they want to help the youth and they want to focus on the elderly. Well, I'm focusing on the in between, the people that get stuck in between, the people that have made decisions that have kind of halted them, and got them stuck. I just kind of want to help them get on the rest of their way. So that's me.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. Thank you. And you and Dr. Nina Thompson will have to meet too. Pat Hobson.
I'm Pat Hobson. I am Yvonne's older sister, and I'm retired from State Farm Insurance. I was military, and I'm just beginning to put my words on paper. She's always been the writer, and I'm just beginning. So I'm glad to be involved with this. I had the voice, it just didn't go on paper. That's me.
She did. Actually, she made me put it down for her. So that's the real truth. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Kim Moore. Unmute.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
I am Marie's cousin, Kimberly Moore. Marie, well, it's a lot to me, but I'm a chef. I make candles. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm do a non-for-profit for cancer and lupus. And I'm myself am a survivor. The book when Marie wanted me write, well, I have rushed for the books, and I've been excited about the book since the last book, and was ready for her to bring this book. I've been waiting for a long time, and when it came out, it was beautiful, and it actually, I just had a second stroke, and when I got out of the hospital, I was able to read the book because I got the book right before, and I got to read it, and it brought me to tears. I was crying, literally boo-hooing, like real tears, because it was such a powerful book, and it helped me on my second journey, and it helped me and to know that to have done this project with my family and with Miss Tony and Miss Stephanie for um and the other ladies, everybody's writing while I was recovering just helped me. On so this book is very powerful, and I'll be so glad when we get out this COVID-19 so we can really go out.
Right.
And because this is a very, very beautiful and powerful book that I feel can help a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you, Kim. Thank you. Stephanie Small.
All right, so I used to say I was a jack of all trades and master of none, but I'm changing that based on our last meeting. I am jack of all trades and trying to master everything that I attempt. So I am, oh wow, I mean, I met Yvonne and Tony and Lydia, I think it's like 5 years now, and I was just a little lost soul. I had my little notebook of poetry, didn't feel I was worthy to be stepping up to the big leagues. And then after sharing with them, they just, just being in a group is so empowering. And it was very validating for me. And then it kind of helped me to just really open up and to be even more transparent. And so I was protective of my little poetry, and but Yvonne is a hard taskmaster, and so we had these sessions and we wrote, and I just closed my eyes and said, "Here, let's just go." And so it's like, it's beautiful. It is a beautiful piece of work. The artistry is beautiful, but I think also the friendship, the companionship, and the true support that we have for one another. And it just defies the myth that Black women can't stick together and support each other, because
Absolutely.
we really do. And so I'm so blessed and so happy to be a part of this community of wonderful women. I haven't met everybody who wrote the book, but I've read your stories, and I have to be better at sharing and promoting. It's just been, we just wrapped up my school year on Friday. So, okay. So anyway, I'm a retired educator. I also write. I'm a huge mental health advocate, and I do a little bit of some of everything else. I sell a little wine, and and I go to the beach a lot. So that's it.
We need all of that. Thank you, Stephanie.
Welcome.
Kenosha.
Hi, I'm Kenosha Hobson. I'm a pediatrician in Salina, Kansas. I'm literally in the middle of Kansas on I-70. I've been practicing for about 5 years now, and normally I'm not the one that does writing, so that's my mom, my sister and my aunt, so I'm usually all about the science, the medicine, and wanting to take care of little people. And so, because I love taking care of children, so that's really been my passion, is trying to keep kids healthy so they can grow up and do whatever it is they want to do in life, but also trying to be a lover of Christ. I love working with my church and singing and all of that stuff, and helping with my choir, which we haven't really been able to do since COVID started, but it's been a little crazy with all of that. But I'm just happy to be a part of you all, beautiful women, smart, intelligent women, and just to be able to say I was a part of this.
Oh, thank you so much. Tanya, I think you're our final one.
Hi, I'm Tanya Smith. I'm one of those that Marie calls in the middle of the night to read and edit and do all of those things. They get me as being their She calls me the grammar police. I can't help that. I'm sorry. It's part of what I do. I love I love reading and writing in English, so it is a passion. I love Marie. I followed her around since I was a little bitty girl. So
True.
he loves, I love. That's how it's been. That's how it'll be. I love you guys, and I've enjoyed working with you. We have something in this book for every woman. There is something to help every woman get through every day, no matter what the circumstance. So I'm so happy to be with you guys. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Okay, Rachel, I will turn it back to you to lead us through the discussion. I think that's all the authors that are on now. As I said, we're missing a few. If they do come on, we will we'll bring them in. So back to Rachel.
So that's exactly how I felt when I read the book. I'm just like going story by story. I'm like, this is so beautiful and so powerful, and just like it's just lessons from, women, Black women, especially just like especially like, from my grandmother, or I'm like, we kind of have the same lessons, or get from different mothers, especially like me after losing my mother, that I'm like, I can kind of go into this book like, wow, these are things my mother has said to me. I feel like it can help any woman. And so it's just like, Marie, where did you get the inspiration for this book, or the title for the book? Like, where did you get the inspiration for it?
Well, I think really the inspiration and but Rachel, what I usually say when people ask me that is, I say, well, the inspiration was just knowing that having my own connections, as to women growing up, and it was a long time before I really realized that not everybody had that. The support of I have not only our mother, but we had both grandmothers within a mile or less of us, one literally next door, and then the aunts and cousins and that whole support system. And it was a really long time before I knew, guys, that not every woman got that. Okay, I didn't know it. I didn't know it. And I hope by gathering these teachings, gathering these stories, gathering these life lessons from these women, I think it makes me feel like we can give some level of that to women who didn't have it maybe growing up, and some who still don't have it, quite honestly, guys.
And so what, that was one of the things that ran across my mind as I read that book, just growing up, and you see like, just how different people was raised, like in different environments, and you wonder like, okay, I was raised this way, and I thought that, like you said, normally, I'm around my grandparents, and some people
Mm-hmm.
haven't met their grandparents, so you have those stories, and you have that positive role models in your life. So that's why I want to get back to the authors. Like, what would you say to women that feel like they don't have positive role models in their lives?
Yeah, absolutely. Several of you all here have worked with various organizations and helping women and are still helping women. So I'm going to push that question to you. Rose, Katina, anyone else who wants to contribute to that discussion.
One of the things that I found out, I have been working with women in shelters over 30 years. And I too was very surprised. I was raised up with my big mama. I mean, big mama had it all, and then my
Mm-hmm.
mother, we lived by 3 houses from my mother until all of the older family members died. They lived within a mile within each other. So we were used to that. But I was surprised when I started doing a lot of shelter work, how many women basic things, there are women and when they miss a period, they just know they're pregnant. Otherwise, they never knew. And I'm like, how could that be? It's not possible. But it's the small things that we take for granted because we were raised in a community of older women, aunts telling you what to do and everything. There are some women that have never had that. It is almost like teaching a child.
Yeah.
Like, it's almost like going back. You think this is an adult woman that had several children of her own, and she's more or less mentally, she's an adult, but yet and still she's a child. And I made a big references years ago. There's a difference between a female and a woman.
So how do you, and I think to Rachel's question is, how do we provide something to those women to help them keep moving forward?
I think the biggest thing is just talking with everyone. Anyone you meet, you can wisdom. It just come out of your mouth. It become part of you through general conversations and how your children doing. And one of the things as Black women, we've gotten so caught up in self that we forget just generalized talking. It used to be a time we talked to everyone. And some people say, well, you can't do that anymore. Well, you can do it. If you bring up the conversation, regardless of it, you can still do that. Talking, letting them know. But you have to be in a situation, volunteering, which I've been doing so many years. Volunteering is a great thing. I've done great counseling, and we need those people because a lot of our women are raped survivors. And the person that comes to see them, that first friendly voice, it's not necessarily a Black woman. It's always a white woman. So right then they shut down because the connection is not there. So we need to make sure we just not belong to ourselves, give ourselves to others. And I've been doing that 30 plus for shelters and altogether almost 50 years. I can't help it because I look, I'm not talking about you, Marie. I mean, when you get 70-something years old, I've been out there a long time.
Yeah.
I'm in my 70s and I'm happy.
Thank you, Rose. Yes, go ahead, Nina.
So as my primary ministry is 18 to 30. I mean, I minister to anybody, but that's who I work with consistently. And what I'm finding is there has been a breakdown in the relationships because of everything that's going on in society. So I'm trying to position them to, first of all, accept everything about their lives, their families. It's a fact. It's not good or bad, it's a fact. And also to use their strength to build relationships with their mothers and their aunts. And these people that they say get on their nerves and they're just not getting it. Since you get it, let me help you build that relationship. You know, you don't have to be so-called dysfunctional. You can, they still have wisdom to share. They still have stories to tell. They just don't know how to necessarily tell that story to you. So yeah, just building that relationship from either end, I think is a good move.
Anyone else?
What I would like to add to that is my experience working with women as well in the safe houses. And one of the things that that I'm so passionate about is putting out the message to love the skin you're in. And speaking of the women that may not have had the role models like we did, I had old mama, you know, you may have had big mama. But one thing that I try to do is, you know, show myself friendly, get down on their level, never try to act like I'm higher or mightier or better than them. But one of the things I push when I go and present to these women, you know, they have such low self-esteem, you know, in the safe houses, they'll say, well, my husband, you know, he was the breadwinner. I'm not going to make it. I won't survive this. And the first question I'll ask is, what are you good at? Tell me something you're good at. Even if they say baking cakes, I say, well, baking cakes is going to be your next, you know, that's going to be your business. What are you good at? You utilize whatever skills and talents you have. And I don't minimize anybody's or try to maximize anybody's, but pass that message along. Because if my grandmother and others, as we said, had instilled those things in me, I wouldn't be able to pay it forward and tell these women, look, you can come out of that hole. You can get out of this same house. You can start over again. You can provide for your children. I've been there. I've done that. I've had not. So that's the big thing, is to present ourselves in a way to where, you know, they look at us now, oh, you're an author, you're a doctor, you're this, you're that. And I have people say that, well, it's easy for you to say now. And I'll say, but give me about 2 hours and let me tell you my story.
Right.
So you can relate to them, not on every level, on every aspect. I've not been raped, you know, and other different things, but I've had things happen to me that made me who I am today.
Right.
And that's the big thing of sharing with others that didn't know their grandmother, that don't have those role models. And even when I speak to the kids in the schools, some of the children will say, I can't ask my mama anything. You know, I can't tell her, you know, I can't talk to her. And I'll say, find someone. If it's not me, find someone.
Right. And I think Kenosha talked about that too, even from professional perspective, guys. We have got to help our folks step out of, you know, you may aspire to be something that nobody in your neighborhood is ever wanting to be. Kenosha, there are no pediatricians on Black pediatricians on Clark Street. This I know. So guess what? Sometimes you're going to have to just find somebody that you maybe admire, find somebody who's doing what you want to do, and step out there and ask them. And you're not asking them to help you or to do it for you. You're asking to make a connection to build on just what we're talking about today, the wisdom that they have about that field. That guess what? grandmother may not have, the aunts and everybody else, the pastor, however well-meaning they may be, if they haven't been to med school and they haven't done, our people are doing everything now. And so we have to help them get connected to the folks who can help them on those journeys as well.
So Yvonne, I was going to say to her question, one thing that I've done is I always have, when I meet younger women, I end up mentoring or encouraging them to move forward professionally. And for those who don't have families, like I grew up around both my grandmothers, but you make a connection with my friends I call heart friends and sister friends. And it's always supportive and encouraging them, pushing them to do more than they think that they're able to do, or that they even think about doing. So it's just building that unified network. And I'm blessed to have those friends that I call heart friends or sister friends. And I can encourage them to just achieve more, or help them even fulfill the dreams that they already have. And they just need a venue or a pathway to follow. So that's one of the things that I do. And I also volunteer for the National Alliance for Mental Illness, because I'm a big mental health advocate. And it's something that we don't address in African-American women, because I experienced it myself. Depression is real. And when you feel hopeless and that you're a failure, and that's about the time that I ran into Yvonne. So just reaching out and being transparent and helping to support other women and pushing them forward.
Great.
And Stephanie, I think, like you said, creating a support circle, even if it's not in your immediate family, just reaching out. Also, I feel like as women, being more open-minded and receiving that help from others, not trying to be so strong and independent, or think that you could do everything on your own. But Marie, like you said, how did you come up with the title of the book? Like the stories from the different women, did they just, like, how long did you guys work on this? So I met you say you were working on a book, and I think it's been like a year since we met.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm like, what book are you talking about?
Right,
You're like,
right,
so many
right.
women.
Right. So I think we were actually working actively on the book for 2 years by the time the book showed up in March of this year, guys. I'm pretty sure it had been 2 years and a half. Because I looked at some of the first notes that I sent out, as I said, after I had this big revelation that this was supposed to happen. I had to breathe for a minute because it pretty much took my breath away. And I started to connect with the women, and it really opened up for me layer by layer. Initially, as I said, it was all laid out. And then it was really on my heart as I met other women, and I felt being prompted, like I was prompted to say, you have to ask her. And I was like, gosh, she's gonna think I'm crazy, but I gotta ask her, okay? So many of the folks on the phone tell you that, on the call would tell you, they probably got a text from me saying, hey, would you like to da da da?
And when you ask me something, I'm like, yes, I'll do it.
Yes. So that's one of the reasons that I knew it was to be, because literally every person that I went to can really help us aim higher, look higher. And so what's higher for me is kingdom, okay?
Right.
And going toward greater than wherever you are. And that, and your greater maybe is different than mine, but whatever that greater is.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, if you have a story to tell, why keep it inside, and that can help someone else?
Absolutely.
And just in a time like this, especially with COVID and everything going on, people out of work, unemployment. Like I was reading Shonda's story, and it, in these sad times, Shonda, can you really just share how you adapted to your story and position for a breakthrough for our families, and just not just for women, and you describe your story to us?
Yeah, when I sat down and I wrote this, all of us know on this call, the writers and stuff, that your best work comes from your true testimony, So when I sat down and I was writing it, And I was talking about exactly how I felt at the moment, because it was almost like everything in my life was falling apart. It was like my children were just trying to raise themselves because I was working 2 jobs. My relationship was kind of falling apart back and forth and all that other stuff. I felt stagnant in my job, and it was just so many things that just felt so overwhelming to me at that time, where I got to a point where I felt like I just want to give up. So especially when you talk about it, anybody that has lived a little bit of life has had that point. So this is not just for women. This is for any person, especially what we're dealing with right now. When we're dealing with this health pandemic, we're dealing with these racial tensions. We're dealing with people are losing jobs. They don't know how they're going to take care of their families. As a result, relationships are falling apart. Depression and anxiety. I was dealing with that too. That's rising too, as well as a result. So when I sat and I wrote it, I had to really out how I felt at the moment, but at the same time, remember where all my strength comes from. And I've been in a much worse position than what I was at the point when I wrote that. And I know what brought me through that. And so that's why I say God has all of our lives mapped out from beginning to the very end. He knew all of us was going to be on this call right now. Exactly what we were all going to say that are going to help somebody else. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I have learned, when I sit and you learn your life backwards, when you see what you went through and then you come out of it and you're like, oh, okay, that's why. That's why. Thank you, God. Thank you for giving me that revelation. Right. So it's always when it feels like it's the worst and everything is falling apart, that's when you don't give up. That's when you just thank God and let him. All this stuff that's going on right now, God is still in control. Mm-hmm. If he brought us to it, he's going to bring us through it. And just know, and we see it right now. We already see all the changes, everything that's going on with the racial stuff. We see change starting. It's starting. It's a long time coming, but it's starting. We see the change coming. So right. That's where my point was coming from. Just know that when things feel like they're falling apart and you feel overwhelmed, just know that he will never give you more than you can handle. And if you just hold on and you just keep your faith just a little bit longer, you will get that breakthrough. He positions you to make everything feel like you can't do it on your own anyway, so you can depend on him, and then he'll pull you out. So that's where my positioning yourself from a breakthrough came from.
Amen.
Mm-hmm. Amen. That's all I can say behind that.
That's all I can say. Because
hey, Shonda, I started clapping like I was at church on that, okay?
Right. Well, you know I'm a preacher's daughter, so.
Yes.
And that's what I was going to bring up too, Shonda. I think, like we all talked about, like we're doctors, we're public relation professionals, like working in the community, and people can look on the outside and think, I think sometimes, people think like we just have everything together. And like you said, coming from, and even from a 2-parent household, you still have your own struggles, and everyone's struggle doesn't look the same. Right. And I think people could be more transparent with that. And I know you brought up, just the racial tension right now, Shonda. And that brings me back to Dr. Nina Thompson. Can you tell us and describe more about your story in the book?
I think for me, what happened is I began to think about how a lot of times people talk about the bad that's going on, but they never attribute that to God allowing it. And I mean, people of strong faith. So I think what I was feeling is it's time to understand that the press and the pain is toward the power. So if you don't acknowledge that God, when I first started the ministry, I used to tell young people, I said, well, this is going on, but why should I believe in God? And I said, you have to understand that his hand is on you no matter what you think is going on. And when you get to a place where you understand that all of this stuff, all of these women that are mentioned in this last section, all of them had to go through the press to the pain. And the pain is what brought their purpose to, you know what I mean? So he's doing his thing. We just interpret it with the flesh. But when we operate in the spirit, by the spiritual principles, we understand that pain is where our press is. That's where our purpose is. That's where everything that we were created to do is. And I think that the perfect illustration is the women of the Bible. None of them just walk up and daintily walked into their positions of power. You know, they had to be prepared. They had to go to the press. They had to go. You don't learn what you don't feel.
Right.
So I hope that answered your question. I mean, can I add one more thing real quickly? For me, what this project did as well is most of my friends tend to be male because I have a lot of the male psyche. But after I was reading this and getting, Marie and Rachel and Shonda and just opening up to the possibility of more female friendships. And so when I read this, it just blessed my socks off. It blessed my socks to hear women coming from a position that is normally thought of as weak with all this strength and recognizing the strength that we possess. So I just had to, I'm gonna shit it now. But I had to say that because that's what it did. It let me recognize the strength and respect the strength.
And like you said, Nina, I think it takes a lot of courage to even open up and share your own story. And I know that, like you said, all of us are not writers. So Marie pushing everyone to just tell their stories and share them, and just share that with everyone. And you have different perspectives in here. And just even like with this book, the cover, like the unique cover. And I know it's just multiple times I talked to you about this, Marie, just this cover. How long did it take to come up with this, or where did you come up with the inspiration working with the art?
So I was hoping our cover artist was going to be on today, but let me just say that as I got to the end of the book, as I said, after I read Nina's piece, I knew we were done. There was nothing else that needed to be said. It was time to close, and as we say, Rachel, in the journalism business, time to birth the baby. Okay, you got to just finish it up and push it out, let it go to the world. And so what happened is I had not, because as I said, it took us so long to get to this point. I had not talked to anybody about doing the cover art. Okay. I was just trying to get 20 women to get these pieces in, and we're in 6, 7 different states and trying to make sure it could happen. And I thought about and so I looked back at the first book. And I knew that I would not be able to move forward without first talking to Rhonda Armstrong Gibson and saying, hey, would you consider doing the cover for this book? So I sent her the manuscript, Rachel, and as it would happen, I told you how long it had taken us to get to this point, and she was getting ready to have knee surgery. So I already knew I'm looking at 2-3 months recovery, all of that. And I just said, that's fine, I'll wait. So she was in recovery, and she was, I think, drafting the cover of the book. So yes.
And Nina
it was
holding it up.
I still say it's worth waiting for, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's a very like powerful and then it's colorful cover, and it just stands out. And I think just all the different stories and everyone contributed all their different pieces. I wonder with these authors, was anyone else's story stood out to them, besides their own? I know you read other people's works, and anyone else's piece really stand out to you?
Well, I cried through all of them, so I'll let someone else answer.
I think I have the same answer as Marie. And what happened for me, it was almost like I love like ice cream, but there's nothing that I like that's just one. Like, if I like fried wings, I like them all different ways. I like food. So when I was reading this, what I found is that a different emotion or a different feeling or a different memory was tapped into with each one. So it's hard for me to say, well, I really like this one, because some of the stuff I was like, oh, really? I forgot all about that.
Right.
So that's what I thought the beauty of it was, that a different memory was tapped in with each story, each one.
Mm-hmm. Well, one of the things when I started reading, you realize how diverse Black women are within themselves. Each person is like, I only know a few of the people here. But I thought, oh, I know that. It was part of me. It was like I had lived some of the stuff that you had lived. Felt some of the ways that you felt, because a lot of the times we all go through a lot of the same emotions, And when I was reading that, I mean, I'm sitting there reading stuff and crying. And then, of course, I said, well, I thought it was supposed to be all good. Why are you crying? You don't understand. That's what I wanted to say. Because you're reading your life into someone else's life.
Mm-hmm.
After a while, you start seeing you within that person, and it become a personal thing between you and that person, just because what you read.
Right.
That's what I got out of a lot of it.
Yeah, I feel like even some of the stories, I'm like, why am I shedding tears in this book?
Right.
It's so emotional, but it was so beautiful.
Can I say one thing before we do that?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, because we were talking about the cover and we're leaving. So what the other thing I noticed about the cover is just what Rose was saying, all these different perspectives. I'm looking at the women and they are actually indicative of different perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So the cover just really speaks to the content. And they just nailed it. I wanted to congratulate the artist and you, Marie, for that cover.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you guys for embellishing me. Let me shut up.
If you would leave one foundational word to the next generation of women, I think that's really important. What would you say to the next generation? What would you want them to know?
Wow. Let's start with somebody who hasn't talked today. Melissa, Tony, you guys, Pat, you guys should come back in on that.
I'll say my word would be perseverance, because without it, you can't do anything. You can't reach those goals, complete the vision, complete the purpose. So like, even on your hard days, I used to tell myself in med school, like, if you give up, you're not going to pass. You're going to fail. Like, you have to keep striving, even if it's hard, even if it's tough, whatever it takes. You need to call and cry to somebody for today, then call and cry to somebody today. I tell my kids in the clinic, know your self-worth, love yourself, do positive affirmations every day, do scriptures every day, put up posters, whatever it is that you need to do to look at every day, so you know that you have purpose and there's a vision and a purpose to complete. So persevere. If you don't do anything else, persevere.
Right.
And like speak positivity. I think really how you speak your self-talk to yourself is really important.
And if I was to add on to that, I would say determination. I tell my kids that all the time, because if you don't have determination, anything will stop you. Anything will stop you. So you have to be determined that no matter what arises, know that you've got the strength to keep going and stay determined.
Mm-hmm. So true, Shonda.
And sometimes you just have to encourage yourself.
Mm-hmm.
There's a song out, and sometimes you just have to listen to that song, and if they're have a relationship with the Lord, I would say go with that relationship with the Lord to gain strength. And like Kenosha said, just keep pushing, just hold on. Your time is coming. If you just figure out what you want, where you want to go, your time's coming.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just say a word, and some people might take it as negative, but one word I kind of raised my three daughters about being unapologetic. You got to stop apologizing for things. I wrote some things down. Remove toxic people out of your life.
Yes.
Get them out the way, and let go of what people think about you. You got to learn to be true to yourself. These are some positive affirmations that you got to learn. Learn to be straightforward, be frank, mean what you say, and always think before you talk. And then you won't have to worry about going back and trying to apologize. And everybody don't fit into everything. And I've learned that years ago. I don't fit into everything. I don't even try. I try to be the best Rose King that God has made. I don't know about others. There's a lot of Rose King. It's a very common name. But I try to be the best Rose King that God put on this earth and helping others.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Tony?
Some time ago, a good friend of mine posted these words on Facebook, and I just said, oh my goodness. And she said, stop asking blind people to proofread your vision.
Okay, I'm just gonna shout on that right now.
I felt that. That is a word. We can add that in the back of the book.
Yes. Yes. That's definitely rich. That's rich. Melissa, you want to jump in?
Oh yeah. My word that I would leave would be healing. And what I mean by that is a lot of times we don't really find our way or find ourselves until we've been hurt. And I had to share this with someone the other day. Where we mess up at is we want to bypass the hurt. So you got to go through the hurt before you can heal. And once you heal, then you can find your way. So my word would be healing. Take the time to heal. Don't try to bypass the hurt. Go ahead and hurt. If you have to lock yourself up in your bedroom for 3 days without a shower, go ahead and do that and hurt.
Right.
And because you can't, if you bypass that hurt, then you're just going to be stuck. You're going to get so far, but then you're gonna get stuck in the mud per se.
Right.
So take the time to go through the hurt. Go ahead and hurt. Let it out. And then you'll heal. So healing is my word.
Absolutely. Powerful, powerful word. Anybody else?
I would say my word is always hope. Because if you don't have any hope and you're just hopeless, then you're not going to have no determination, not going to have no perseverance because you just blah.
Right.
So I say because hope never disappoints. Because if you have hope, hope will always give you something that you can pull on. And you can keep going and keep pulling and keep going, keep moving forward. And so you just have to never lose hope because it never disappoints. And that's in the Bible. That's in the Bible. And like Kenosha said that if you have to talk to people, Kenosha my talk-to person. I cry on her all the time. And she always tell me, like, Kimberly, I know how you feel, but don't give up hope. So and that always stick with me. So just hope. Always have hope because that will put you on everything else for not giving up. Then you do you have hope?
That's good.
That's beautiful.
That's good.
That's good.
And Marie, is your mom on?
She is.
Yes, she
Darn,
is.
I got her. I finally got her, Marie.
Finally on. She is finally on.
I would really like to hear her message to the younger generation.
Okay.
Now.
Okay. So what you want me to say to the younger generation?
Yes.
Is about well, as I say, keep God first in your life, always make no difference what, and whenever you have children, always try to be where you can talk to them, let them talk to you, and you listen mostly, and that way you can pretty well see where they are in life, what they're doing, and as I always said, just try to be there for them mostly, and always try to have, like, for instance, when I was working, I always try to have jobs that I could get home right by the time they got home, and be there for meals for them and all that kind of stuff. So as I always say, and I still do, they still talk to me, and not too much. They don't keep from me, I don't think. But anyway, I listen, and I let them talk most of the time. So.
Mm-hmm. And you talked about that in I believe your title was God is Able. You talked about
right.
You got home and made sure they had the meals.
It
so
is.
Be thankful.
That's right. Being as I say, just be there for them most of the time, because kids, they say I'm bored, or find something for them to do. Keep them something for them to do, like I did for them when they were young, and libraries, swimming, reading all the time. Find your book, read it. Don't be hollering, I'm bored.
It's a work around the
And
house.
so holla,
too.
I can't, ain't, and all that kind
Don't
of
say
stuff.
I
Right?
can't. Yep.
No, you
Don't
couldn't
say
say
I
that.
can't.
And
So
so,
guys, we are laughing because we all know these lessons, okay? They were drilled into our heads. You can't say I can't. You
No.
better not say. We were scared to say we were bored growing up because we knew she would say there's plenty books to be read. Read a book.
Read a
Yeah,
book.
my
Read
mama
a
said
book.
we work around the house.
Yes.
Clean up, mop, sweep again.
No, she wanted you. She could do that. She wanted you to go read a book. Let's
Right.
go to the library. Yeah, let's take you to the library. Everybody
Yeah,
else went
it
swimming.
was
We
the
went to the
book.
library.
and I didn't mind cooking or anything, having the food ready for them. I just wanted them to get a book and read it and understand what they're reading. The same way with the little girl that lives here in my house.
Yeah.
And
I'd like to piggyback on
Don't be
that
hollering,
one.
I'm bored.
No, I'd like to piggyback on that one if it's okay. This is Tanya.
Go ahead.
One of the things, yes, one of the things about that is she and my grandfather are 84 and 83 respectively. And as she said, the young lady that's staying in the house right now is a college student that is a family member. That's what their house has always been. It didn't matter who didn't have a place. If you wanted to go to school, you needed a place to stay, a safe place, a haven where you were going to hear the truth, whether you wanted the truth or not. You were going to get it, but you were going to go to school and you were going to make good grades and you were going to read and you were going to excel at everything you could, and they were going to give you a foundation to do so. And that's what we don't have enough of, is people willing to sacrifice a little to help people make it a long way.
And that's good. And Rachel, I think that's one of the things that I hope comes from the book as well. I mean, all of us as women know circles of other women, whether it's at, as we do volunteer work at the shelter, or women we meet through work or through church who need some additional support. And I'm not talking, financial support even. I'm talking they need someone who can hear their heart and help them. And I hope that as people read the book, that they look for those opportunities, and that, it doesn't have to be done with the book. We should be living it every day, as I know many of the folks on this call are doing and have done. But I think that is the way that we help our own community, because I am convinced that nobody is going to save us but us. Okay. And it is not like, as African American women, we haven't been doing this for ourselves for generations. Okay. And we have more tools and electronics and gadgets and resources than we've ever had before. Okay. So there's no reason that we can't reach out and help another woman. And I'm not talking about, again, anything that we don't already have. Okay. You know something that your sister sitting right next to you in the cubicle at work does not know. And she doesn't know it. Okay, so that would be my hope, my challenge, that as people get the book on Amazon, by the way, I forgot to say that. That would be my hope, that we help each other. Pull up the book if you have a copy. That's our sign off.
Oh, I did have one more question, Marie.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
I think, like, your mom is not muted. I think
I muted her.
Oh, you muted her? I think it's something that stood out to me. I haven't experienced that yet, but as a mother, like, how do you have the strength? You have to always be there for your kids, but bringing other people into your home or encouraging other women. How do you find that inspiration, or how do you find when you're not feeling 100% yourself?
Yeah.
Katina, will you talk about that, please, from your surgery and your aspect?
Huh?
Oh, were you talking to
Katina.
mom specifically?
Oh, no, I was talking
Just,
to
okay, in general.
Yeah.
Okay.
Generally speaking. Yes, thank you, Tanya. So during the time with what I spoke about in the book, the things I was going through, I was a single mom. I had 2 kids in college, had just, quote, got my dream job, so to speak. And I don't know if I wrote that or not because I suffered a traumatic brain injury. But what I will say was at a pivot point in my life where I thought things were getting better, I went to work on this job I had been on for like 6 weeks, was knocked in the head, beat up, suffered this traumatic brain injury. And my immediate thought was, oh my God, here we go again, something else. My entire life had been just full of, pitfalls is what I call them. But how you get through those types of things is, number one, God. There is nothing, absolutely nothing that I could ever get through. I don't care how low or how bad it's been without God. That was the first thing. And then to have my family, my kids, they were college students, but my youngest daughter took her last semester in college. She took it online, had to write letters, to come home to take care of me. And I don't know if I mentioned this in the book, but in the midst of the girls in college, me not working for a long period of time, I was in my last semester of graduate school. So my youngest daughter had to read my assignments and, over and over and over. And like writing used to be, and y'all don't know this, like one of my best things. Since that head injury, all of that went away. Like, I can't remember things like I used to. I could just write papers like with no effort and write anything. But how you get through helping somebody else when you're in a pitfall is that perseverance, is that you got to have that will to get yourself up and go on. And that's the stamina that makes you open your home, and help somebody else, or makes you, start the organizations like a lot of us have, or work with people, give to other people. Because my big thing was, it's never about me.
Right.
I look at most of everything that happened in my life, and I say it had absolutely nothing to do with me. God took me through this for me to encourage, or for someone else to see through me that you can get through it. You don't have to end your life. You don't have to stop now. You don't have to. I could have, like the doctors begged me to go on disability. You'll never think again. You'll never work again. You'll never be normal. And I kept saying, I couldn't even talk at the time because I had to learn how to do everything again. But I was going, yeah, I'm going back to, stuttering and barely could get it out. But the thing is, when you have that will and you know that God has a purpose and a plan for you, even at your lowest, y'all, I found myself helping other single moms, giving them money when I didn't have myself. So when you go through some things, it prepares you for the journey ahead. And it helps you to walk in what God has called you to do.
Amen.
I would like to say, when I was a younger lady, and I always wanted to help other kids, and when I was a Girl Scout leader, and for years, and then, of course, my own daughter was, and then when she got ready to get out, I got out because I felt that I couldn't help other children and leave my own daughter out. So I've always had that feeling of trying to help somebody else, and I guess that's always, and I guess that's why I went to beautician school, because I always wanted to make us look better, do better, and all that kind of stuff. So I've always had that of trying to help somebody else better than me. Now, that's what I say.
Can I say something from a single person's perspective? I don't have any kids, but I've always had kids. And so I think if we can understand that the beautiful thing that's happened with my young adult ministry is every parent I've met, I don't care if they had drug issues, I don't care if they had violence, I don't care what they had, they came to me, I invited them all in, they came to me and they said, thank you. So they were willing to receive genuine support from somebody who may not want to do it full time, but has something to pour into their kids. So I think if we understand that there are a lot of young women out here, or older women who don't have kids, who still have that call on their life, who still have the passion, who still have the purpose, they can supplement and give you a break, or they can't, you know what I mean? So you don't feel like I have to give everything on this tray to my kids. Right. There is that support. There is that sisterly support. Absolutely. And I just wanted to say that. I get so much joy out of you all's kids. And then I give them back to you.
Right.
And so, Marie, can you tell readers or anyone interested in the book, how can they purchase the book?
Absolutely. If you know any of the authors on the call, they all have access to the book. Or, as most of us do now, just go to Amazon.com. You can put in the name of the book, Kingdom Vision for Audacious Women. And that lovely, lovely cover that we keep talking about will pop up. So thank you so much, ladies, for being with us today. And again, thank you, Rachel, for leading the discussion for us. You did an awesome job.
Thank you. It was great meeting everybody.
So thank you. My thanks to you again, Rachel. It was awesome. Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.